Well, welcome to episode 21 of Be Kinetic. And I really want to say from my side, thank you for the immense privilege of just being able to make these videos. And even though I'm not with you physically, that we've been able to interact, we've been able to chat around some topics. And yeah, from my side, I really appreciate it and would love to hear more of your feedback. So it's really great when I see that for some of you, it's adding so much value. And any topics you'd like us to cover is just keep sending to me and I'll gladly explore it. And yeah, so thanks again. Now, obviously, as we've gone through the last couple of series, is we are trying to move away from the notion of telling people what to do. So instead of telling people what to do, there's something of seeing if we can shift people's belief systems. Because if we can shift people's belief system, that's going to change how they think and feel, and that's going to have an impact on their behavior. So the strategy isn't focusing on behavior as much as it's focusing on people's belief systems. One of the easiest ways we can do this is under the notion of priming the mind. And what it's doing is it's influencing people's thinking in a way that it manifests in different behaviors. And a psychologist named John Burr, he did some experiments in the 1990s. And one of his experiments is he got a group of people and he had two sample groups. And what they had to do is they were given a bunch of words and they had to unscrabble the words to make up some sort of phrase. So he could have "it instantly found him." And then they would have to unscrabble them and they would come up with, they found them instantly. And so there was something of coming up with the solution. And the first sample group is they were given words that had the words that implied anger, frustration, annoyance, impatient. And the other group is they had words like peace and calm and relaxed and sociable. So what they did is that when the first group had finished unscrambling to come up with this phrase, is they were given some sort of score, and that's what the group was told, was to see how quickly they could do this. What the real experiment is what happened next. So they said, thank you for participating in the experiment. Won't you take the score to the professor in the next room? And so they would then go to the next room, and as the real experiment is the professor was deliberately speaking to someone else. So to give the scores in, they had to stand and wait. And it was incredibly fascinating. So what had happened is the group that had the words of frustrated, annoyed, is they would literally kind of push in. They wouldn't wait long and they would cut the conversation off of the professor and the other person to hand in the results. The second group that had words of peace and calm and relaxed is they would take up to 10 minutes. They would wait for the professor to finish the conversation before they handed in the scores. They didn't know about the words. They weren't shown or told that these words were going to impact their thinking, but just simply unscrambling concept words is it had a direct impact in their mood and the way in which they gauge people. So the question is, what type of words are we using? So again, if we can maybe look at in a safety context, is we would have a toolbox talk meeting, and what are we talking about? Because it's priming people's thinking. And so if we're talking about stress and meeting targets and pushing things and deadlines and it's production, what are we doing is we're priming people's thinking that they must go out and they must push at all costs to meet a production target. Now, obviously, we want people to do well. We want people to meet targets. But what a superior toolbox talk looks like something like this is where we talk about the necessity of meeting a target, but doing it safely. Is we bring it in a tone that is we're going to work efficiently, but we're not going to go in that mad driven approach, but systematically. Imagine a boardroom meeting is where we talk about how we need to influence people, that while we want to go to the next level of optimization, where we want to improve our functioning, is we're going to do it in a way that we're going to respect people. And so go have a look at your interactions with people. Go have a look at the meanings. What type of words, what tone is being used and said, because it's having a direct impact. And so if you have a look at this image right now, is what is the missing letter? And I'm sure for the majority is when I showed you that image, is the letter that came to your mind was A. And why? Because you saw the word soap, because of the image that I had placed there. Now, if you have a look at this image, for the majority of yous, you're going to come up with the letter U as in soup. Why? Because I have primed your thinking to think in that way. So when we look at our effectiveness as a leader and we want to shift people's behavior, what are we doing? Instead of focusing on their behaviors, we want to look at their attitudes, their beliefs, the way in which they think, and are we priming them in a way that will get the results that we are looking for? Now, obviously, I can't supersede someone's fundamental belief, because I can throw all the words of robbery, crook, bank. It's not going to get a person to go and rob a bank. So you can't manipulate people. You can't get them to do something they don't want to do. But people want to do a good job. And in the safety environment, they want to do a job safely. And so are we using words of safety, of targets, of budget, within timelines? Are we communicating in a way that is not putting unnecessary stress, where people want to take a shortcut, or they're doing poor quality work, but there's something about, I'm going to do a job with excellence, I'm going to do it timely, I'm going to do it within a social context of we are friendly, we're working within teams, I'm taking responsibility. Why? Because those are the words that we are using. So what priming the mind does is it creates structure within people's thinking many times. And again, we don't want to manipulate people, but without them even knowing. They did an experiment, is that there was one office that they wanted people to pay for their tea and coffee, but they didn't want to make it a rigid rule. They wanted people to take responsibility. And so what they did is the tea and coffee was available, and they had a suggested price list on the wall. So they put like kind of a box where you can come and you can give your R5 or R10, and there was this recommendation of what you should be paying, but it wasn't a rule, it wasn't a regulation. And so every week they change the image above the price list. So week 1 is there would just be the set of eyes, and then the next week there would be some flowers. And the week after there would be another set of eyes, and the week after that another image of a different flower arrangement. And what was interesting is that the weeks that had the eyes above the recommendation of, the price list, is that they gave 3 times more than when they had the image of flowers. So what had happened is that there was this feeling, I'm being watched, I am being supervised, and that emotional experience gave people, they wanted to give more. So again, what are the images we are using? What are the language, the words, the tone, in a way that is moving people's behavior, obviously to their benefit as well as to the benefit of others? Now, maybe as one key point here is, if I tell you don't think of the red balloon, I'm sure for the majority of you, even though I said don't think, the fact of the matter, when I said red balloon, is that is the image that went through your mind. And how much of our communication is we told people what not to do? Don't speed, don't take chances, don't do this. And what's happening is the words we use is they see that, they don't see the don't. And we need to be talking in the positive. I may have shared this in the past, is we see images, we don't see terms. And so I'll never forget the one day I told my kids, don't jump on the bed. See, there's no image for don't, but there is an image for jump and there is an image for bed. And so I went to go do something, and I came back and my kids were jumping on the bed. And I was very upset with them. I said, I told you not to jump on the bed. And their response was, yeah, and it's fun. So what did I need to do? I needed to create a new image within their thinking. And so I simply said, go play outside. And so we've got to be asking ourselves, are we using words that is creating the images that is moving people to the type of behavior without manipulating, that is getting us the results that we are looking for? So just a really simple tool that I really hope that you can use in a very practical way that will just take your results, your effectiveness to another level. Guys, again, from my side, thanks a mil for listening to this other video, and I trust you have a great day further. Until next time, be kinetic.